Atlas is one of the most iconic figures in Greek mythology, perhaps the most iconic in all mythology. But how well do you truly know his story? His punishment, eternally holding up a globe, has been immortalized in art and literature. But who he was and the events that led to his fate, and the common misunderstanding that he's not holding up a globe, are not widely known. To understand Atlas, we must first step back to the age of the Titans, the powerful deities who ruled before the Olympian gods that we're more familiar with today. The Titans were children of Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. They were massive godlike beings embodying primal forces of nature. Among them was Cronus, who overthrew his father, Uranus, taking control of the cosmos. But Cronus's reign was short-lived thanks to his own son Zeus, who would go on to challenge the Titans in a cosmic conflict called the Titanomachy. This war between Zeus and his father's generation of gods was brutal. Both sides wielded unimaginable power, and the Olympians calling on allies like the Cyclopses and the Hecatoncheires, giants with 100 hands each. Despite these odds, the Titans fought fiercely, and at their head was Atlas, a second-generation Titan born to Iapetus and Clymene. Unlike some of his siblings such as Prometheus, who sided with Zeus, Atlas was unwavering in his loyalty to the Titan cause. Atlas was more than just another warrior in this war. He was its backbone, a general who led the charge against Zeus and his forces. His strength and cunning made him a formidable opponent. However, when the battle concluded, Zeus emerged victorious, sealing the fate of the Titans. Some were imprisoned in Tartarus, the deepest pit of the underworld where no breeze or light from the sun could reach. Atlas, however, faced a different kind of punishment. Instead of casting Atlas into the abyss, Zeus condemned him to a fate far worse: to stand at the western edge of the world and bear the weight of Uranus, the sky itself, on his shoulders. This punishment wasn't just a sentence. It was a symbol, a warning from Zeus to all who dared oppose him. And so, Atlas became a symbol of eternal endurance. His tragic punishment defined his legacy and connected him to the very fabric of the heavens. But how did this Titan, once the leader of the gods, transform to a representation of resilience, rebellion, and tragedy? That is the story we're here to tell. Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, Atlas. When we think of the Titanomachy, it's common to envision Cronus, the tyrannical father of Zeus, as the main antagonist. However, Cronus was not the Titan who led the charge in the epic war. That role was taken by Atlas. Strong, relentless, and fiercely loyal to his kin, Atlas emerged as the de facto general of the Titan forces, commanding them in their battle against Zeus and the Olympians. Atlas was no ordinary Titan. As a second-generation member of his kind, he inherited the raw power of his father, Iapetus, along with the cunning and tenacity necessary to challenge the younger gods. While Cronus ignited the war, Atlas fought in it, standing at the forefront of the rebellion aimed to preserve Titan rule. In many ways, he embodied the old guard's refusal to yield to a new order. The battles of the Titanomachy were nothing short of apocalyptic. On one side were the Titans, wielding the raw forces of nature. On the other side were Zeus and his siblings, armed with weapons forged by the Cyclopses and bolstered by the monstrous Hecatoncheires, whose 100 arms hurled boulders that rained destruction on the Titans. According to Hesiod, for 10 years, made the vault of heaven shake and groan, and the earth and the boundless seas threw back the echoing roar. High Olympus was shaken to its base, and the earthquakes came in endless succession. In the chaos, Atlas proved himself to be more than just a warrior. He was a strategist, leading his forces with a mix of brute strength and tactical brilliance. Despite his strength, Atlas and the Titans faced an uphill battle. Zeus, with his thunderbolts and unyielding determination, slowly turned the tide of the war. Yet, even as the Titans began to falter, Atlas remained steadfast, his resolve unbroken. Some say his unrelenting fight was driven by pride, an unwillingness to bow to a younger, seemingly inferior generation. Others believe he was fueled by vengeance, perhaps grieving for his brother Menoetius, who was struck down by Zeus during the conflict. Whatever his motivation, Atlas's efforts were not enough to overcome the Olympians' combined strength. After a decade of relentless warfare, Zeus and his allies emerged victorious. The Titans faced swift and severe punishment, with Cronus and many others being banished to Tartarus, their rebellion crushed. But for Atlas, Zeus wanted to make an example of him. Atlas was condemned to carry the sky on his shoulders for all eternity. This burden was not only a testament to his strength, but also a cruel reminder of his defeat. By making Atlas bear the heavens, Zeus ensured the mightiest of the Titans would serve as a living warning to anyone who might challenge the new order. The image of Atlas straining under his crushing burden has become iconic. Ancient poets like Hesiod described the Titan's torment with vivid detail, emphasizing the sheer weight and unyielding nature of his task. His muscles strained, his bones ached, and every moment was a reminder of his defeat. There was no reprieve, no escape, only the endless labor of supporting the heavens. But was Atlas a tragic hero, or simply a prisoner of Zeus's will? Some accounts suggest that his punishment had an almost moral undertone. By holding up the sky, Atlas ensured the survival of the world beneath him. If he ever faltered, the heavens would come crashing down, destroying everything. In this light, Atlas could be seen as selfless, bearing an unimaginable pain to protect the earth and its inhabitants, even those who had condemned him. Others interpret his punishment differently. Perhaps Zeus bound him so completely that Atlas didn't have a choice. This view paints Atlas as a defeated villain, stripped of free will and forced into a role he could never escape. If he were given the chance, some argue he might have let the heavens fall, ending his own suffering, even if it meant the destruction of everything below. Atlas's story gains another layer when you consider his family. Among his children was the Hesperides, the nymphs who guarded the golden apples, and the 7 sisters known as the Pleiades, who became stars. In some versions, Atlas's devotion to his daughters and their safety might have driven him to endure his burden. Dropping the sky could mean crushing them, a fate he couldn't bear to cause, even in his desperation. Whether seen as a tragic hero or a bitter captive, Atlas's punishment is a powerful metaphor. It represents not only the wrath of Zeus, but also the immense weight of responsibility and the endurance required to bear it. Atlas became a symbol of resilience, his name forever tied to strength under pressure. Yet his suffering remains one of the most poignant stories in Greek mythology, a reminder of the price of rebellion and the cruel nature of divine justice. One of the most famous encounters involving Atlas comes from the 12 Labours of Heracles, where the Greek hero crossed paths with the Titan in his quest to obtain the golden apples of the Hesperides. These apples, gifts from Gaia to Hera on her wedding day, were said to grant immortality and were fiercely guarded by the Hesperides, Atlas's daughters, alongside the ever-watchful serpent dragon, Ladon. Heracles was tasked with retrieving the apples as one of his labours, but he faced a significant problem. No one knew exactly where the Garden of the Hesperides was located. On his journey, Heracles encountered Prometheus, Atlas's brother, who suggested that Heracles seek Atlas's help. Prometheus hinted that Atlas, as the father of the Hesperides, would know the garden's location, and perhaps more importantly, could retrieve the apples himself. When Heracles approached Atlas, the Titan was still bound to hold up the sky. Seizing the opportunity for even a brief moment of freedom, Atlas proposed a bargain. He would fetch the apples if Heracles would take on the burden of the heavens in the meantime. Desperate to complete the labour, Heracles agreed, stepping beneath the crushing weight of the sky as Atlas stretched his shoulders for the first time in eons. Freed from his punishment, Atlas journeyed to the garden, retrieved the apples, and returned to Heracles. But the Titan had other plans. Reluctant to resume his punishment, Atlas suggested that he deliver the apples himself, leaving Heracles to shoulder the sky permanently. To Atlas, it seemed he was finally going to escape his torment, until Heracles outsmarted him. The hero pretended to agree and asked Atlas to briefly take back the sky so he could adjust his position or cushion his shoulders. The moment Atlas lifted the heavens again, Heracles seized the apples and made his escape, leaving the Titan once more bound to his endless task. This story reveals a lot about both of the figures. Heracles' wit and resourcefulness help him overcome seemingly impossible challenges, while Atlas's momentary betrayal highlights his desperation to escape his suffering. Yet even in his scheming, Atlas demonstrated a shred of honor by keeping his word and retrieving the apples for Heracles instead of simply walking away. Different versions of the myth present alternative endings. In one version, Heracles shows compassion and builds two colossal pillars, now known as the Pillars of Heracles, to permanently support the weight of the sky, liberating Atlas from his punishment. However, the more common version depicts Atlas as the eternal bearer of the heavens, portraying him as a tragic figure, outsmarted by the cunning of Zeus's son. Atlas also appeared in the tale of Perseus, the legendary hero of early Greek lore. According to Ovid's Metamorphoses, Perseus travelled to Atlas's kingdom in northwest Africa and demanded shelter, claiming that he was the son of the great Zeus. By this point, Atlas had been warned by an oracle that the son of Zeus would one day steal the golden apples guarded by his daughters, the Hesperides. This prophecy haunted him, making him suspicious of anyone who came near his land. Perseus, fresh from slaying Medusa and armed with her severed head, unknowingly wandered into Atlas's domain seeking shelter. In Greek tradition, providing hospitality or xenia was a sacred duty. However, Atlas, consumed by fear of the prophecy and bitterness for his punishment, refused the wary hero any welcome. Offended by his rejection, Perseus decided to take drastic action. Drawing Medusa's head from the bag, he turned toward the Titan. Even severed, the Gorgon's gaze was powerful enough to turn Atlas to stone. His immense body became the Atlas Mountains, a towering range stretching across northwest Africa. Atlas's name is often translated as the Enduring One. He has become a symbol of endurance, resilience, and the burden of responsibility. A being who faced the impossible and persisted against all odds. In ancient times, Atlas was closely associated with astronomy. It was said he was highly intelligent, studying the depths of the ocean up to every star in the constellation. Sailors navigating the open seas and farmers tracking the seasons relied on the stars, which were believed to move across the sky under his guidance. Some traditions even credited Atlas with holding the celestial sphere itself, causing the stars to rotate and marking the passage of time. In another version, Atlas wasn't a titan at all, but a wise king who had learned about the stars and shared this with his subjects. The symbol of him holding up the heavens was figuratively of him holding the responsibility of the important knowledge on his shoulders, the only one who truly understood the significance of that burden. This connection between Atlas and the stars has left a lasting cultural legacy. The term Atlas has come to represent a collection of maps symbolizing guidance and exploration. The image of Atlas holding up the heavens has been reimagined countless times, often depicting him as a figure supporting the weight of the earth. However, this interpretation is a misconception. Atlas never carried the world. This idea likely arose from the artistic depictions of Atlas holding a sphere, which ancient astronomers used to represent the celestial heavens. Over time, the image morphed into the idea of Atlas bearing the globe, reinforcing a myth that doesn't align with the original Greek stories. Atlas's story is one of contrasts. He was a fierce warrior, yet a victim of Zeus's wrath. He was a symbol of endurance, but also of defeat. His punishment reflects his strength and serves as a reminder of the consequences of defying the gods. In many ways, Atlas's tale resonates with us today. His struggle reflects the burdens we all carry, whether they're physical, emotional, or symbolic. His resilience in the face of eternal suffering reminds us that even the most insurmountable challenges can be endured. But Atlas's story also leaves us with questions. Was his punishment a reflection of defiance? Or was he simply caught in the crossfire of a divine power struggle? And if the Titan had won, would Atlas have ruled with the same iron fist as Zeus, or would he have been a different kind of leader? These complexities make Atlas one of the most fascinating figures in Greek mythology. His story lingers in our imagination, inspiring art, literature, and philosophy for centuries. So what do you think? Was Atlas a tragic hero, a cautionary tale, or something else entirely? If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and join me in other mysteries of mythology.